I will say, the last 11 minutes of this thing, which I digested again today, is, I'm torn. This is like Ali and AJ and cowbells. So I'm torn here. I have to departmentalize my feelings here because
that's a reference everybody knows. So.
Of course.
Yeah, absolutely. Crystal clear. Crystal clear.
Well, I realized, because I was like, I don't think I've seen any of these, but I think in one of my notes, I wrote down, like, can we go back and do it again so I can write for it? Because I got stuff.
the thing that I remember most is Victoria and David. Victoria and David made this episode.
And why is it that no one that actually lives here is here?
I live here.
I'm not acknowledging that.
There's a line somewhere in this episode where Shannon just says,
wow, this show really sucks.
Wow.
And Victoria especially hated it. And then a couple weeks went by, and then I'd do it to them again. All the screams that Victoria's doing are real.
Well, 3 down, like 250 to go.
No!
The scene where she's adjusting the rabbit ears and they explode and she flies backwards is actually the last shot we did with her. And it's the last shot because if she got hurt, who cares? It was her last shot.
I'm telling you guys, Channel 62 burnt down like 6 years ago.
And it was a great shot because it had special effects, which we never do.
I set off my son. I think I scarred him. He was holding the green screen by his hand.
It won't be the last time.
Yeah, he doesn't trust me now. No fair.
Frank, your gun is showing.
What?
No, I really mean your gun is showing.
Oh.
The Big Bomb to me is amazing because it promises so much, right? It's like they set the clock right away. It's like 26 minutes and, City Hall's going to blow up. I'm like, oh, this is going to be gripping. Now, how do you make that not gripping at all?
Connie's sitting in the next office between 2 windows. Both of them are open.
We fly a plane through the room.
It was amazing how much we had to add to that to make that story compelling.
I did. You want me to go out and pick it up? Connie, that's not going to get you anywhere.
Now, go out and pick it up.
Maybe.
This episode has 2 of my favorite, not only actors, but just sort of screen icons of the time. I mean, obviously that's Jack Webb, but it has Raymond Burr, right?
Yeah.
In it. And they're terrible.
I found 28 sticks of dynamite in Connie's apartment.
Dun, dun, dun. Oh, wait. This show really does have that music.
Raymond Burr walked on for the day. I'm sure didn't know his character, right? And they're like, you're just upset. They're like, the building's going to blow. And he must have done it in like 5 minutes, 1 take, and then he's out.
It's going to take a couple minutes to set this up. We've got to know what Connie's doing every second. Well, how about the dictograph in there? Adjoining offices should be connected with this one.
Joe, should we be smoking near a bomb?
There's another guy. There's a cameo. There's the guy where we go, Norm!
Norm! Sergeant Friday? That's right. I have to take this car. It's the only one in service.
That guy just opens the elevator door. Like, what? How did he get that role? And they introduce him like he's somebody. He's gone. You never see him again.
So we're pretty much screwed, huh?
Tom's like, oh yeah, I slept overnight in an abandoned jail with that guy. And I'm like, what? He would know craziest stories. Like, how do you know that guy? He knew any random background character Tom knows personally.
I don't know anything. I have a garden.
I was reminded of Matthew's graphic skills because that little police emblem is awesome. In any case, it was very.
That was really. Thank you, Dan. Thank you very much. That was really fun to do. So, and what I love about that graphic is that it looks like, at first glance, it looks like the Dragnet shield, and yet nothing is the same on it at all. So there's obviously the rabbits in there, and there's the logo, and then it has like police cop sergeant super sergeant detective or whatever, like the crazy.
Yeah. Sergeant police cop.
That's what everybody got to know. Dun 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 dun. Like it's in these early ones, and they would just put it in whenever. They're like they'd cut it like I have to make pie. Dun dun dun. dun. Like
You'd think they would at least just search the house.
Boiling water action!
It's cream sauce.
This was a true story? Like somebody decided that 2 months was too long for his brother to be in jail, so he was gonna blow himself up? Like what?
Hi,
What the hell are you doing, Vern?
Just the casting for Friday and Gannon. Just those two are amazing.
Who are your friends? Well, that's Jennifer. Hi. And that's Sergeant Friday and Officer Gannon.
I said, does anyone know anyone who would be good for Gannon? And both Tom and Shannon sent me an email saying, you need to get Steve Capasso, not knowing that the other one even knew him.
And this man is bonkers.
Paul is a musician. He's not an actor. He'll be the first one. He kept saying, Jeff, I'm not an actor. Jeff, I'm not an actor.
I built a bomb once. No, wait, that was a blueberry boomerang.
And how are you planning on building this boomerang?
Bomb.
Bomb.
I said, do you have a suit?
I'll make you a bet, Colonel.
As long as it has nothing to do with the Cubs, I'm in.
Out of here with you.
The tongue twister. Oh my gosh, the tongue twister.
Oh, yeah. The alliteration.
So I'm sick of the bag situation.
The bag situation?
That's right, at Big O's Market.
I have that down in my notes too, but it's with the emoji.
The bag at Big O's?
That's right, so I decided to build a bomb.
You don't realize everything going on, and then he pulls out the notebook and like...
Okay, I think I have it here. You built a bomb bearing the name Brutal Bob the Beanie Baby to botch Big O's ban on bags. But the Blue Barn was barred, busting up your brilliant blueprint.
You know, it made me think from a character perspective that the alliteration might have been Dan's motivation the entire time. Not necessarily the bomb, but just getting someone to say all of those words together.
I named him Bob.
Bob?
That's right, I nicknamed him Brutal Bob.
Brutal Bob the Beanie Baby.
Slippy slide, the slip and slide down the
Right.
hallway.
that's a great callback. To me, that's a
was my
great.
favorite one.
Yeah, that joke sets up early on. Like,
This movie would be so much better if that hallway was a giant slip and slide.
okay, good joke. You know, and then later on, like,
I'm starting to like Pete's idea of a slip and slide here.
Well, he's running with a bucket of water. It's like, come on!
The stairs.
Where in the pool have you got? I've got blows himself up in the elevator. Guess I've lost.
I got it! I got it! I got it! I got it! I don't got it!
And it's supposed to be a "that's what she said" joke, but he has never heard a "that's what she said" joke very clearly, and so he changes the entire meaning of it because
It's a good 18 inches could be done.
That's what she said.
that's what she said.
yeah.
I just like lovely,
I don't
innocent
believe
Tom.
her. Yeah.
The guy. Name's Vernon Connie.
His friends call him Circus.
Some of some of Tom's readings, and I don't correct him because it's funnier, you know, to not. And he would probably like kill us if he's like, "What? You didn't tell me how to say that the way it was meant," you know. And it's like, no, but it's so much funnier.
I have an idea. Let's change all the clocks.
Into the office next door.
He does one like that later on too, where the mumbler guy says something like, you know, I never really hated him that much. And then Tom was supposed to say, I never really liked him that much, like with roughly the same inflection. But he does it. He goes like, I never really liked him that much, you know. And he does it so differently. I was like, I like it better. I like Tom's version better.
I didn't hate him. Not at all.
But I didn't like him. Not at all.
I don't know.
I thought, man, we started strong with the bomb, you know, like a building central downtown blowing up. Like, okay, we started too strong, and then the middle one's like check kiting, which is okay. It's a serial crime, and then the last one is like no crime at all. It's like we went downhill fast. But watching it this time, I was like, to me, it did. It got better and better, like because the crime became so minuscule that it gave a chance for everybody to kind of shine. You know, it was beautiful.
A revised description of the suspect together with her MO was printed up and given wide distribution.
It's a government job, so we just make copies of the problem.
I love playing Grandma.
Well, you sort of caught me at a bad time. I was just getting ready to put some baking in the oven for dinner tonight.
And I'm wearing a diaper.
I work.
Oh. And you're doing like a pinch of arsenic, and like after you did a couple like.
And then I have a newt.
Yeah. You boys like having two eyeballs.
That's right.
Let me see.
Teaspoonful of arsenic and just a pinch of cyanide.
There was a line at the time, which I know Matthew wrote, so I'm going to bring it up, but I loved it, and we were busting up. We would say this on the way to Comic-Con, like we'd walk in the door of a show or at Comic-Con or something, and say,
Hardly 3 of the check victims can get together on what she looks like exactly.
They hold conventions.
You going to the Grandma Forgery Convention this year?
You going to the Grandma Forgery Convention? It's like they all go to conventions and hang out together.
Learn penmanship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now we have it. We just needed proof and possibly a witness. And you know what? Let's just call it a day.
In the show, a lot of times we're commenting on things that the audience is probably thinking, and it's kind of satisfying hearing someone else say it. Like, you know, there's this whole thing where they're looking for Grandma. You know, they're looking for this lady that looks like a grandma, and one of the cops stands right outside a window with a grandma sitting right next to them. Doesn't acknowledge this person at all. It's kind of like, you know, when you put a gun on the set, the audience is focused on it. It's like something has to happen with the gun. Well, it's like they're talking about hunting and finding this grandma, and then they've got the cop standing right next to this obvious grandma, and there's like nothing happening with the grandma, and she walks away and she's like,
better get along. I have some checks to write.
There's like just 10 minutes of talking with Grandma.
I told you I have my own charger plate. I never borrow anyone else's. No reason to.
Now, some rabbit's feet and the skin of a newt.
Like, this is a procedural police drama. Yeah, and they're baking and just hanging out, and it's like, what is happening right now? Like, what are we watching? It's so weird.
Frank and I called on Mrs. Lambert. She asked us back to the kitchen.
I hope this ends in a street chase with lots of guns.
Well, I was surprised they let her near the boiling cream. Like, that's such a weapon, right? And Friday's right there. And eventually I think Dan says it, like,
cream sauce is boiling over again, Sergeant.
And then she throws it at his face and makes a run for it?
Getting dinner ready. My husband would be furious.
Please?
Exactly. Like, why would you ever let your suspect get that close to a pot of boiling, you know, anything?
Don't drop those on your head. My next dishes, I don't have to break them.
Dramatic baking action. Dun, 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 dun.
And wasn't the handwriting expert guy? He seemed like the HR guy from The Office, where he's like, and you're like, what? That's important information. We don't know what he's saying.
Number 32 in the list, fellas. That's it.
What?
Positive make, Donna? No doubt in my mind. That's Grandma's handwriting.
What? Can anyone understand him?
This one also had the joke that was a really that had a twist at the end of it. You know,
I was at the strip club. Don't get the wrong idea. I was working.
It's not what you're thinking. I was working. It's like, no, don't get the wrong idea. I was working.
Still a misunderstanding. Well, all right, honest. Thanks for
it's not the first time and it won't be the last. You should be in a hospital.
Or the guy eating the meat for no reason.
What was with that? That was so
Yes, that was weird.
We got to be great friends, you know. Used to talk about the old country, things like that. And she said you came from the same town in Finland my folks did.
They really
That's another one of those, like, they set this thing up. It's like, okay, this has to go somewhere. Right. There has to be a reason for this.
And it didn't go anywhere. It was amazing.
No, doesn't go anywhere.
Do you have one of those circulars that we sent out on this woman?
Well, I'm ashamed to say it, Sergeant, but I have. Hanging right back there in the storeroom.
You see, I'm an idiot.
If these are real crimes that took place and people are going through files thinking, well, what would be a good TV show? Why? Why pick this one?
We received a call from an unknown informant who claimed he had information about a series of burglaries. He refused to give us any details. He even refused to give us his name.
Like the guy, and the guy annoyed me immediately. Like that, he's like, "Well, I'm gonna tell you." Nah, I'm not gonna tell you. Like,
well, if I show you something that I think is stolen.
Whoa, wait a sec.
Have you got some way to find out who it got stolen from?
Yes, sir, we might.
And we have cool theme music.
Reported to us.
Why are you even here? Can you imagine going to a police office now and doing that? They would just push you out the door.
No, it's stolen.
Man, he's dragging this thing out.
Too, when you see the other stuff.
Well, all right, who's responsible for it? Do you know?
Yes, I know.
Me.
Well, who is it?
Well, maybe later on I'll tell you.
I have so many questions about the motivations of the writer for this one. Because, yeah, why would you pick this crime of all of them? It's like, why? Why would you do it?
Normally I would have shot him in the head, buried his body, but...
I continued to question Mr. Hovig, but I couldn't pry loose any additional information that might help us.
But then, like, a pretty central plot of it was the names of the characters. Like, the guy was like, it was a really hard name to spell, you know?
It's kind of a hard one to spell. It's Norwegian.
Now he's just making stuff up.
I figured out a way to change the spelling, but I haven't got around to it yet.
Don.
That was a thing. And then her name was, you know, Face. And, you know, they had the whole bit, Fosse, right?
Signed, Elmer Face.
Elmer Fudd.
Elmer Face? How do you spell that? F-A-C-E. You don't suppose that's a real name?
Oh, man, that's gotta be.
Huh?
Nobody could come up with an alias like that.
Face and Fosse, and, you know, they had the whole joke about, you know, Friday and Face. But they changed the names of these people. But it makes me wonder, like, were the real people, were their names that quirky that was part of the reason why they picked this particular crime?
Says Elma Face.
For the last time, it's pronounced Fosse.
And if so, they picked it knowing they were going to have to change the names. It's like
Oh, say, in case I have to ask, what's your name?
In case I have to ask, what's your name?
I don't
That's
know.
an excellent point. I never thought about that, but you're absolutely right. The names were the critical part of this, what made the story maybe interesting. And yeah, if the writers picked that, like these, yeah, everybody has hilarious names. Like, yeah, I know, but we changed the names to protect the innocent. Is that?
Friday. Oh, that's a funny name.
Oh, Lord, this is going to be a long day.
I guess it is, Mrs. Face.
I liked in that behind James in the middle of his monologue, which is the length of the show.
And the Oscar for the worst acting ever goes to this guy.
Are you saying that just because his name is Oscar?
His name's Oscar?
Dan says, like...
Is that the Rocketeer's jetpack back there?
Over to the doctor's.
And then that's all I was fixated on. Like, I think it really is. Like, it looks exactly...
Oh, good. This lady.
I love how Dan says, you know,
Well,
if you combine both those characters' energies, you'd have a normal human.
We think so, yes.
Yeah.
I had a music lesson over in Selma.
Days must have been a lot longer in the 1950s.
I just sat in the car.
But this is one of the only, the third episode was one of the only episodes where you actually can accidentally see out of our front door.
Mm. Yeah.
It was an accident because you're not supposed to know that it's not really a front door. But because you can see it, I just have to throw out there how hilarious that front door ends up being, because we're constantly coming in and out of that front door. But it's really a door with a staircase into a tiny little closet area. And we often have like 5 people that are just wandering in through the door. And we're supposed to look like we're coming in from the outside, you know, not just all crammed together like this. So it's like there were so many cuts where like, no, Dan, you came in and you were obviously putting yourself back into position. You know, that was not a natural entrance.
Stood here looking at those things.
And there was a duck, 2 yams, a gallon of pink paint, some rice, the Pope.
I felt terrible.
Which was pretty amazing.
Worse than before.
Was that on the door that had the I hate you guys?
Yes.
I got it. So I'm assuming that was supposed to be Vicky made that, I'm assuming.
No.
No?
Oh, no.
Okay.
This is one of those things where a throwaway joke ends up being a central piece of the storyline forever. Mr. Triona, comes in, and the entire backstory of this is he walks in and just puts the sign on the door and walks out, and that's it. And then it's on there for the entire rest of the season. And
no one even acknowledges it. Like, no one says, "What's this?" or asks, or it's just always there. And we had to save that thing. Like, we had to keep it in perfect condition and mark where it was and make sure it didn't move, because if it moved, that would be acknowledging that someone, acknowledged it. This is where you'll note that Victoria and Wyatt are never in the same shot because they weren't there. So pieces of this episode were filmed months apart.
Okay, good. I thought they never leave.
What are you doing?
I'm gonna dump this battery acid into the TV so it won't turn itself on anymore.
And so there was a huge rewrite of 4 scripts, 10, 11, 12, and 13, that had to happen to where Wyatt and Victoria were never in the same shot. So like, he talks to her, they talk to each other and stuff, but those are months apart.
So, McFoxies?
McFoxies.
And Wyatt leaves. Like, it makes sense to me. Like, I didn't notice that. I watched the show again, and it all seemed to be fine and fluid. But now that I think about it, where Wyatt, one of his first lines is like,
I told you.
We both told you.
And then he leaves. It does seem strong for what he just saw. You know, where like Tom saying like, we told you, and then him going, we both told you, and he leaves. Like, wow, he feels powerful about that. And then he bolts out.
Then how do you guys keep getting reception on this then?
I have to ask about the way he wears his mask, because it's incredibly prescient for people now in our time of COVID, where people are wearing it like that. Was that it was just a comedic choice he made, or is that how? Do we know if he believes masks are worn that way, or
hashtag Wyatt?
Wyatt, yeah.
Let's call Wyatt. Wyatt, please tell me about the mask.
I liked it because now that a third of our society wears their masks that way, to me it was like, oh, that's a hilarious joke, but I don't know if he knew that he was doing that.
There's more?
After talking to Mrs. Face, Frank and I had lunch.
That 11 minutes from when the moment they walk into that garage until the lights fade is the most horrific moment of cinema I've ever seen. And also the most genius 11 minutes of comedy I have ever seen when you layer us on.
Like to tell us about it, Mr. Hoving?
Oh, God. This guy gets more depressing as the show goes on.
He was a good boy.
I absolutely agree with that. It was such a wonderful gift, a comedic gift to get, because exactly that. You had free reign to talk over him and to listen to him.
So I forgot to mention it. At supper.
Can this guy make any sense?
But after they went to bed, I came out to lock up, and I began to think about it.
Always dangerous.
So I looked a little more in the box, and I saw the lace and a picture of somebody that's not in the family.
My favorite lines during that is when Dan says, like,
I might use this monologue for an audition.
Like, can you imagine absolutely not wanting the acting job? You're like, okay, I know the monologue where I am definitely not getting the part. Well, I'm going to do that. People are going to think.
It was just like when her mother died.
He's still talking.
What can you talk about?
And I imagine that guy, that actor, is like had to memorize 2-3 pages of just straight dialogue, uninterrupted dialogue. That'd have been terrifying for him, but man, it goes nowhere.
I want to be a good citizen and respect the law and everything.
It's still on.
My daughter might get the wrong idea. Yes, sir.
Damn.
3 months they're married and he loses his job.
I love the joke about Jennifer holding her breath.
Unloading the car down the street.
New rule. Jennifer has to hold her breath until he's done with this story.
It reminded me of the ones in the garage.
Well, you convinced me.
Because you forget about it, and
Oh, thank you, God.
Thank God.
Oh, thank God.
I was like I was crazy. I couldn't stand it to be alone.
Have you ever thought about a dog?
Yeah.
And who does the mumbling at the very end?
Oh yeah.
I was gonna ask that too.
Yeah, so the thing is that going back to Victoria and David, they hated it, and that third one just capped it off, right? So it's just like, we can't take this anymore. I mean, could you imagine just sitting down and watching that? Like, there's no jokes. You just have to watch it and process it. And they were, after two others, they were losing their stuff. And finally we get to the credits, and usually I write most of the credit jokes because people don't have a lot to say. They'll try to spit out some name or, but they're seeing a name and they're trying to figure out. And David just goes,
Well, I mean, it all started when I woke up late this morning because my alarm clock went off, but I hit the snooze button, so I overslept, and then I got out of bed and I was getting dressed, but I couldn't find two socks out there the same color.
I felt like with this episode, the chemistry between all of our actors was as good as it gets. The three female leads they looked like they'd just bonded by that point, and were playing off of each other. The chemistry was fantastic there. And then, our Friday and Gannon was great. Dan was just, banging on all cylinders. And Wyatt was great. Like, I felt like this was a really beautiful time for the cast.
And I couldn't find the keys to my car, and so I broke the window of my car, but then I realized that I wasn't going to be able to start it anyway, so I had to walk to the store, and it's like 5 miles. I mean, really it's only like 3, but really it's only like 1. I mean, it's around the corner from my house, but it still took me 10 minutes to get there. And then I was walking up and down the aisles, and I couldn't decide what I wanted, so I just started grabbing stuff randomly. And then when I got up to the checkout counter, the lady said it was like $9.62, and I told her that I only had $9.60, and she said, "Well, I'm sorry, sir," and I said, "Well, I guess I'll go home."